It's all about the American dream this week, folks. Scotland are getting agonisingly close to getting stateside next summer. Celtic looking across the pond at a potential next manager. And Rangers fans are hoping that their uncle Sam owners are hoping it's going to be Yankee Doodle Dandy under Danny in the new year. Welcome to Game On, your weekly quick fire hot take podcast brought to you by Delica Sport, where it's more like kind of stars and gripes.
Yeah,
you like that, G?
Oh, very good.
Speak of stars, Graeme Young.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching it. Michael Gannon. I'm more a full moon than a star, I think, these days. How are you anyway, Graeme? Looking forward to an exciting weekend ahead of us in sport in general. And
exactly. Well, just glad to be here with you, but also it's a cracker, isn't it? It's been so people grumble about international weeks, but I think we've got a good wee run with everything that's going on.
So we'll just ignore those naysayers because it's a huge weekend of sport in general. But Scotland is the big one, isn't it?
Yep.
Steve Clarke's men are in Athens at the weekend against Greece. We're in with a chance, aren't we? We've got a chance. So, but in this position, with 2 games to go, need a result in Greece. Are we going to get it?
Thumb down.
What?
I know, sorry to be so negative to start, but there's this.
Oh, blow the whistle.
No, exactly. There's this working theory that Scotland are, we've been underwhelming in that. It's a sign, it's a surefire sign we're going to the World Cup. Greece, who are obviously flawed themselves, produced some of the best football I think I've witnessed against Scotland at Hampden. And I think they're more than good enough, irrespective of the fact that their own World Cup dreams ended, to cause us a lot of problems. I just feel whatever post-Euro, the Euros last summer, with a great run in the Nations League, where the results weren't there, but the performances were. This has been the opposite, where performances have not been up to standard, but results have been there. But I just worry for it. And I know the one thing that's given me pause for optimism is the fact that Steve Clarke needs a draw. I think that's massive. The fact that you don't need to win the game. A draw is as good as a win because you go to Hampden anyway to beat Denmark. And I think that suits his nature. But I think Greece are a slightly better team, and the freedom and maybe not the pressure to go to the World Cup, I think might be too hot to handle. Sorry, mate.
Oh, they're never good.
I know, I'm sorry.
Dr. Doom just took the jam at my donuts.
I know, I'm very apologetic.
Well, I'm going to tell you it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you why, because the stars are aligning, I think, for Scotland right now. This is the culmination of 6-8 years. I think there's a lot of brilliant subplots with Craig Gordon back in the team at 49, 50 years old, whatever it is now. This is the kind of get the final chapter of his story. There's a lot of players in the Scotland squad coming to the end of their cycle, and this might be their last crack at the World Cup. I just think there's a hint of destiny about it. This campaign hasn't been perfect. We've managed to get results, sometimes by hook or by crook, but we're here. We're in with a chance. The Greeks, who are one of the flakiest teams in Europe, by the way, they're either world beaters or they're carpet beaters, and sometimes in the same game. They've nothing to play for. Every wee sore toe and sore knee, they're not playing. The club manager's saying, up the road. They have nothing to play for. They're hardly sold a ticket for the game. The fans aren't interested. They just want to see it this campaign and get up the road. I think Scotland can go there, keep the head, keep it cool, and eke out a result. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be all guns blazing. I think this will be a Clarke masterclass, and it sets up an all-timer against Denmark at Hampden on Tuesday night. Have I changed your mind? Have I got you going?
Let's film that again.
Have I got you going?
No, I still the same worries. But
Clarke should get me in the dressing and do the pre-match. That was quite rousing. You going into it?
Not get me going. I'm not going into it.
Doctor Doom. Oh, I don't fancy this. I don't fancy your chances, boys. But good luck.
I wish I was more positive, but I love it, and I'll reverse ferret for next week. I'll
right.
I'll see you, Jimmy, on.
I'm going to hold you to this next week. Yeah. Right, but what? Listen. The game itself, what are the big calls for Clarke? Not without injury issues and all that stuff as always. What are the big decisions he's got to make?
As I touched on there, the one slight positive I did have was the part that I think suits Clarke the most, that the draw is the result. You can't play. You may as well play to line up to get the draw minimum. And if you somehow
weirdly, anytime Steve Clarke has gone a bit adventurous, we tend to get our bodies booted, don't we?
And that'll be the way the game will play. Greece, as you touched upon, can be flaky 1 minute and fabulous the next.
So where's the big decision?
The big decision is massive. It's got to be how he lines that midfield up. Now, Ben Gannon Doak has been a bright spark, but I feel he is let down with the fact we don't have 2 bona fide wingers that can take teams
What are
on.
you gearing up for here? What are you gearing up for?
5 in the midfield. Not quite. There's still a striker in the pitch. We're not going 4-6-0.
What are you gearing up to say here? What are you going to say? No, you're going to say no Ben Gannon in team. Is that lineup?
No, well, do you know what? Since I've annoyed everyone already, let's keep him on the bench for the second half. I think there's a midfield there with the 5 that could keep us in the game, and then in the second half you're poised to strike, where Greece will have the ball, keep it 0-0, and then Scotland, I don't think have enough game changers on the bench if you don't keep one of your better players in reserve. Maybe Ben Gannon plus Dykes in the last half hour.
Madness.
Okay, it's madness.
I mean, this is our main attacking outlet.
I know, but
again, we need to get a result in.
I disagree right now because you've watched as many games.
I think we get early goal, Greece chuck it. I think an early goal.
Different game.
This is a flaky Greek team. I think early goal. Get your big guns out early. My wee namesake, Ben Gannon.
Oh, exactly.
The last time a teenager was in Greece with him and Gannon, he ended up drinking fish bowls and in bed. I think it was Kavos. I think it was the last time.
How many games have you covered in Europe? Celtic, Rangers, Scotland, big European games where it's gone before it's out of hand quickly, and Greece has that capability. Is it not worth keeping the game uber tight, as we know a draw is a good result, and then having players?
I mean, you have a pace for outball and all that stuff.
Has one outball. You need players. I feel when the game's stretched, that's when Ben Doak comes alive. He's come up short recently when the ball was passed him 10, 15, a bit like Taneki at Celtic. The ball's given it. You just create, you make it happen, and sometimes it doesn't. I think there's a way to keep him in reserve that could help us get a result we need.
You're killing me, so we're going to get a result and we're not playing our best player.
I know, sorry.
But apart from that, we're all right. I'm a Dr. Buzzkill. Right, listen, we hope for the best that Scotland get a result and keep it going, because I think Tuesday could be one of those nights. It'd be amazing if we get in that game with a chance to get to the World Cup. It'd be just phenomenal. And we've got that playoff to fall back on as well, so it's not done and dusted. I think we can go for it big time. I'm looking forward to it. But listen, let's shift on to domestic matters. Still with this American theme. Excuse me. It looks like Celtic are having a wee look across the pond. And the name that seems to have shot to the top of the list is Wilfried Nancy, the Columbus Crew manager. Big question is, I think he's an up-and-coming coach with a lot of credentials, but could he cope with stepping into the Celtic pressure cooker? Because this is not just a normal job, is it really? I mean, let's be honest. I think the MLS is a good standard. We know it's a higher ranked league than Scottish football, and we know the reasons why. But there's nowhere near the scrutiny, the pressure, the fan movements, and all that stuff. You don't get the media on top of you. It's in terms of soccer out there. It's Sleepy Hollow. Let's be honest. And I think that you see the games and there's maybe 20,000 crowd, make a lot of noise. It's great, but in the grand scheme of things, when you look at American football, baseball, basketball, ice hockey, it's way down the list. It still is. Coming to that, from that environment to Glasgow, that's a whole new ball game.
That is
whole new ball game. But do you think he's got the chops to make that move if possibly happens? I
think it's extremely difficult, and someone who's we always joke about. I quite like my hipster stuff and the tactics and all that. Whatever he likes, this not dissimilar formation to Ruben Amorim at Man United, but irrespective of that, that's not the concern. The concern's what you've touched on here. It's the weep. He doesn't even have a kind of stellar playing career to fall back on. I know he's worked with Thierry Henry, Montreal. He's very well regarded. You can see he is one of these coaches, but there's been a lot of those coaches recently where his ideas on when his team are working, you can see what he envisions. It all works perfectly, but that counts for nada. When you come to Glasgow mid-season, a Celtic team that are falling below standards, it just doesn't feel right. Something feels, and if you're getting the club changing how it's operating behind the scenes and making adjustments to the coaching staff, I still don't believe that this fit is right for non-state or Celtic at this time. I think he is a coach that seems destined for Europe, but I think Celtic, what they have right now, Martin O'Neill, is giving them it's more of a fit than what they
stability.
Need. It's a stability.
But this could be an up-and-coming manager who could be the next big thing in Europe.
Yeah.
It seems to be a lot of people think he was coach of the year out in America.
But there's a lot of star coaches, isn't there? That's not.
But it's the Celtic job and the Rangers job. The coaching part. I'm not saying it's the easy part, but that's the bit that's taken as a given. If you're in that job, you're a coach. You can coach. It's the other things. I think you're right. That makes it a difficult position. The kind of the noise around it and the pressure and the kind of having to win every week and sometimes even winning well This is a club that sometimes gets booed if they don't win the right way. So I think it's a leap. A bold appointment. It could be an inspired appointment. I don't get the kind of comparisons with Ange Postecoglou. The fact they didn't not work in Europe is a bit the only kind of comparison, really, because Ange had 20 years experience, went to a World Cup with his country. I mean, there is some similarities in the fact that he maybe worked in countries that football isn't the be all and end all, but I still think he had more experience. Whereas this guy's only got 4 years as a manager. That would be a gamble for me. A gamble. All appointments are a gamble, but this one would be a particularly big one. But it looks like this has come about. Obviously, with Celtic's head of football operations, Paul Tisdale, they got a link to Nancy. Worked with his number 2, Kwame Ampadu, at Exeter, and he's done a debut and all that stuff. So there's a link there. And Tisdale is believed to be having a big role in the search for a manager. Rightly so, it's his job to do that. If he didn't, if he wasn't involved in that search, then I don't know what the point would be, because recruitment and management is there. So, but given the windows and the problems behind the scenes, is Tisdale to be trusted with this responsibility?
It's a big aspect. The problem with Paul Tisdale,
or is this going to be the where we judge it?
Yes, but I think Paul Tisdale, if people know him for his previous life, is quite a charismatic guy.
Football doctor.
Football doctor. The doctor will not see you now. You don't hear much of him. But Dapper Dan looks the part. Do you know what Celtic would be best doing? Getting the cameras out, 25-minute interview, and letting the guy speak, because no one knows who Paul Tisdale is in Celtic. Give the guy a chance to say who he is, what he's about. So Kevin,
I think he did a presentation for supporters in the summer. I think
the public.
By all accounts, it was quite impressive.
I think that's what I mean. I think
it's a results industry. They need to find where are the signings, where's the results on the pitch.
100%. If Paul Tisdale can impress people behind the scenes, I'm sure he can do it a wider audience, and I think he deserves that chance. But he's got a good name. He's a bit of a kind of different character in the sense, previous manager, and he's moved into this world. I think he may well be able to do it, but I think he needs a chance to show it. I think it's different with Kevin Thelwell. It's just a different type. He's already seemed to burn these bridges. I don't think it's the case with Paul Tisdale. He's just a hidden figure. But if he's in that role, he's got to be trusted. There's no evidence that he can't be it. I don't think, because he never hired the manager in the summer.
Well, about the transfer window, he's the man in charge of the transfer window.
I know, but I would
give him. It's been going down as one of the all-time epic fails of transfer windows.
I agree, but I think Celtic have had enough long-term issues with transfers.
So you're lumping it on Brendan Rodgers, same as Dermot Desmond?
No, definitely. I think the blame's shared. I think there's issues.
Well, it's clear that Celtic have sided with.
It's a structural issue.
Yeah, but it's clear that Celtic have given the backing to Paul Tisdale rather than Brendan Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there is any kind of a side of the fence, then he's been given the backing.
What do you think?
Well, I think now we'll find out. He's worth. I mean, there was issues in terms of recruitment this summer, in terms of the players they went for, the players that the manager was happy going for, the way they were recruited, how much of a role he had on all that, we don't know. And certainly in terms of identification of players, he was a key man in that position. I think we'll now find out. I mean, occasionally Celtic, what happens is that they look for managers, and then Dermot Desmond picks the guy that he wants. Often knows. Go back to Martin Neal first time round and second time, Brendan Rodgers twice. Also, Neil Lennon was in the building. Ron Dyler was a guy who was getting sourced by the club, and then but he was meant to come in behind Roy Keane, so he was the guy for Dermot. So it might be that Tisdale has the initial search and puts forward these names, and then Dermot said, "I don't fancy any of them. I want to go and get somebody who I want." That could be the. If that is the case, then you have to say, well, that's the guy, head of football operations should be taking charge of that position, that job. If that's another thing, it's not been dealt with properly, then you look at recruitment. January is the big test, because Tisdale come in an advisory faction last summer. Wasn't a great window until the end. They got a few at the end. Maybe paid over the odds for the likes of Trusty, Engels, and not Trusty, but Engels and Ida. And then you've got January. After that was a disastrous window, and then the window in summer was a disastrous window. The work has to be getting done now for new players in January. So the proof will be in the pudding. If Tisdale can cut it as Celtic's head of football operations, we'll find out in January. And it could be the implications of not performing to task at this point in time are going to be huge, because the title was well and truly on the line. But anyway, we'll flip across the city, will we?
Yes.
The Danny Rower last week. Echoes of
didn't like it.
I don't think that was a problem. But the fans are on board. They're singing his name. Are they right to think the title dream is still on, or back on, or is it finally on, or what? How do you see it?
It's the maddest season in history when it was like, what was it, 1-1 drawn, 5 lost, 1 at one point. Now suddenly, 3 league wins in the spin, 2 favourable home games to come. Why not? Because it doesn't feel like we're going to be in the 90+ point title winner this season. It's going to be a bit just with the games to come. The biggest problem Rangers have is been Easter Road, but they've still got 2 trips to Tynecastle, 2 to Celtic Park, Tannadice, Pittodrie, all this still to come. The fixtures that they have in this kind of final 30 or less are more difficult than anyone else in the league. But at the same time, sometimes a bit of momentum. I think tactically, he's obviously switched on. If nothing else, Danny Rowe's gone in there and turned heads. You can just tell people are switched on. Now, if that leads to a title charge, we're about to find out, but they will have to win some really significant games to win the title. Probably one of the most, it'd be like Angie's run in the first season was impressive. This will be a different level to get it done. But he's engaged. I thought even the wee touch during the week going to meet the staff. Just a simple thing. Sometimes in life, the easy wins are the ones you can't pass up.
The PR stuff has been good for him so far. I
didn't actually like the subs at the weekend. I thought it was a bit weird. He took the players off at the weekend. How Chermiti's on at half time, and I think you're asking a wee bit. But it just took the sting out of the game. They'd actually, even though I don't Miovski.
But maybe thinking he'd a goal. Get him on. The game was done. I think
he maybe regret it. It was the coaching on it. That part was probably. I just think it was maybe he was a bit too proactive. But if you can be that, maybe the previous regime were the opposite.
Yeah.
But I think on the evidence so far, there's plenty to like. I thought second half at Hampden was pretty promising, but it was also the first half that they were a bit short.
Yeah,
but I think they're in the these next run of results. The way Celtic Heart goes and Celtic versus Hearts. Upcoming fixture, Celtic at Paisley as well, and how Hearts if they can pick up wins. If it keeps tight within 8 to 10 points or 6 to 8, I think they're in the mix.
What was it now? It's 12 points, could be 9 if they win the game. Their game in hand. I think you've got to. I don't like this kind of white flag going up in October, November.
Too much of that.
Too much, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, the season's done. We need to plan for next season and all that stuff. No, I think they should still believe they're in a title race. I think Hearts are going to be an issue this season. I think Celtic are still going to have problems. I mean, they've had a couple of good domestic wins under Martin O'Neill, but they're still the same issues. They've got a horrendous injury list as well. Celtic, they need major work in January, so that'll dictate a lot of it. When and what business they do at Celtic, and Rangers need to do business as well because I think there's still gaps in that squad. I think it's still vulnerable at times. They still look to me a bit flaky. And that takes on the next question because January, huge month for Rangers. Graeme Souness, did you see his comments this week in our paper? Saying how can you trust Kevin Thelwell, sporting director at Rangers, with another January and give him more money? What do you think?
I think he's bang on. Honestly, I think Kevin Thelwell is one of these figures where I think in our industry we're always willing to maybe look at differently for fans and go, hold on a minute. But I think he's had a really tough start, and I think the style, a sporting director, just his MO, the way he recruits, I think it was a really poor window. Just the type of player, every Joe Rothwell, Max Aarons, these guys I just don't feel are Rangers players, and I think if he believes that, I think he's got a market. I think he's got access to a certain pool of players down south. I just feel that the way the direction of travel, Danny Rowe, the owners, I just feel they could be a bit cuter in the way they do business. And I don't know if Kevin Thelwell leading the charge with the players that he recruited in the summer is the right fit. It just doesn't. It just feels that there's scope. This Rangers team, I don't think they're perfect. Far from it. But with 1 or 2 or 3 kind of the right signings in January. And on the evidence for the summer transfer window, I think there is serious doubts.
He's not going to get emptied. So what choice do they have but to trust Thelwell with more money? Because Rangers do need better players in the building. An awful lot of loan signs in there, and quite expensive loan signs. I mean, loan fees in England are expensive, and you can see it in the figures. I mean, let's talk about 35-40 million spent. I know they brought in some, maybe half of that as well. But so the question is there money to be spent now in January? That's a question for the American owners. Are they prepared to go in deep again? They said they spent 20 million quid. They have spent 20 million quid. Unfortunately,
a
lot of it's been wasted.
I think Trinity and Miovski being permanent signings is a major issue.
A lot of money for the two of them.
Exactly. They could easily be. I think they look like loan signings, both of them, and I know there's been a lot of loan signings. To me, there needs to be a real goal machine. That's the place. But they've
got £21 million of strikers on the books. So they'll have to offload some players, I think, first to do that. So Thelwell's big task might be to get rid of some of the players before signing a few of them.
I think you were right with Thelwell, but the fact that it is one of the, like, if he can't be in the background not making calls if that's his decision. That's it.
They're going to. There's no choice. They're stuck. They have to trust him. But he can't. Like I'm saying, Paul Tisdale at Celtic, he can't afford another window like the summer.
But he's got less rope than Tisdale, I think.
Well, I think I agree with that. Yeah, I think it's kind of do or die stuff for him in January. In terms of the owners, I'm sure as well, they'll see that as well. But listen, again, we're sticking with America.
What's the week?
This is American week. It's over at Hibs in Edinburgh. The Black Knights have galloped into the sunset. Who writes this stuff, by the way? That's one of yours.
Oh, yes.
But is it good news or bad news for Hibs?
So if you look at the Black Knights, at Bournemouth especially, you think they're brilliant. Listen,
I can't quite fathom why this is not. I mean, knowing there's been issues behind the scenes and kind of they kind of falling out over what manager and all that stuff. And by the way, it turned out that the manager they stuck with was a good one, with David Gray. But it seems a wasted opportunity to me.
I totally agree.
I
don't know if Hibs are wrong either. It's almost they weren't the right fit for Hibs. It just
Hibs. You could say, listen, they've done all right. I mean, obviously the start of last season was really poor, but they're great second half of the season. Come on strong, decent crack at Europe this year. So you think things are doing quite fairly well. I just think having that kind of money, the safety net and knowledge and access, it seemed to me a bit of a kind of waste opportunity not to kind of hold hands and play nicely. But clearly, there was a breakdown between both parties, wasn't it?
Yeah, they just didn't an ill fit, wasn't it?
Was that called Bill Nye?
Bill Nye, yeah.
Bill Nye. But clearly that his input wasn't as embraced as much as it could have been, I think.
I think you've nailed it. I do think Hibs have done a pretty decent job since the poor start last season. There's a solidity to this Hibs team that's not really you're familiar with a Hibs team, but you're right. Like built like that Bournemouth setup as well, the training ground that they got there and the signings. They're probably one of them. And Brighton got all the acclaim, Tony Bloom, and obviously up here with Hearts, but I think there's a real agility. See the summer there with Bournemouth. That's as good as you can. That's top level.
Yeah.
Kerkez and all this guys exiting.
Yeah.
Big money, and they're able to just replace. They're as good as any team.
They've got a model that works, and it should be
so Bill Foley's
replicated.
Not someone who's failing elsewhere. I think that's taking a bit with them. But where Hibs, it just never works for Dado. Like you said, with David Gray last year, and the signings never really married. This didn't feel like Black Knights at work. So I think it is a learning lesson for Scottish football. That you're all in or you're not. I don't think you can do this. I think Tony Bloomy's investment's a start of something, but you can't just dip your toes in the water.
Yeah, I just think that they might eventually one day regret.
Yeah,
they're going to get this, but listen, I mean, the Gordon family taking the club into their hearts and all that stuff, and they do have the interest of the place. But it remains to be seen whether or not this is a slight mistake. I suspect it might be. What about their old chums over in the capital, Hearts? This seems a question that pops up every week. Is the Hearts bubble burst and all that stuff? A couple of wee blips, a couple of draws here. I mean, two draws in the last 3 games. Are we starting to doubt their title credentials? Credentials is for me to say. Got a tea pack in. Yeah.
No, I like them.
I mean, listen. These are not bad results.
No, that's what I said.
I mean, everyone's waiting for them to fall flat in their face. I think some people are, but St Mirren away. I mean, an absolute stinker of a fixture. I mean, Stephen Robinson's got that team, especially in Paisley. Just, a nightmare to play against. I was at cup time at Hearts went down there and struggled, put in penalties in the first half. St Mirren done a job on them. United at home, a game that could easily. But I think what we're starting to look at, Hearts the same way we look at Celtic and Rangers, which is a compliment to them, I think. So, could Celtic and their drop points at St Mirren? Of course they could. Could they get draw against United at home? Of course they could. Back to back or within 2 or 3 games, maybe start asking a few questions. But it can happen. It's going to happen. They've not lost a game yet in the league. So I mean, I just think that they're in good shape. They're in fabulous shape. Let's be honest. At the top of the table with 7-point lead. I think because we're talking about a few years ago, it could be 14 points. Didn't we? Everyone saying, exactly. It's going to be 11, 14 points, and now it's 7. And you think, well, things are starting to kind of get reset a wee bit, but I don't think so. I think Celtic have still got major problems. I think Rangers still get major problems. I think Hearts are the most stable of the 3, and I think they'll keep chipping away. So whether they can sustain it all season, I think I've always said it's going to be tough because teams are starting to change the way they play against Hearts. They're getting the respect that the Old Firm get as well, which makes it tricky to break teams down. They don't get the same amount of freedom, and people figure out what they're doing a wee bit. It makes it harder. And that's what Celtic Rangers and Celtic in particular have done well for so many years. They've worked out ways to get beyond that. Rangers, I think, have fallen down that trap. Making teams when they get figured out, they've struggled through the years. That's where they've not won leagues. So I think Hearts are in good shape. I wouldn't be questioning them, but they've tougher times ahead. So I just hijacked your answer.
No, don't be daft. I'll be very quick for once. Mate, you could even argue it's the first bad result of the season because the Motherwell draw was brilliant. 3-0 down, get away with a point. St Mirren, they get battered away from what's it and get away for Paisley with a point. Maybe you expect to beat Dundee United at home, but I like the setup. I think Ajew could be a good player, and I think Chesnikoff, if it all gets sorted in January, is the same. I think there's no reason to. Listen, you're right. You're judging them on a different level now. You're thinking they're title favourites and try to win every week, but I think they'll motor along just fine and be in the mix for a while yet.
Yeah,
it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, as bubble talk, this parquet, it's a lot of nonsense.
Yep.
Listen, we'll change tactic on that. Change new balls, please.
Change codes.
New balls, yeah. The Rugger boys, the kings of glorious failure, aren't they? Are Scotland the nearly men of international rugby?
Yes, because it's so frustrating, right? So I enjoy international. I think it's really high level, and that game was played. It was proper hell for leather stuff. It was a cracking watch. But for all this, so had never beaten New Zealand before. It looked like they had a great chance. Down to 10 men, put themselves in a hole in the first half.
10 men?
Oh, 10, 14 men for a swap. Sorry, sorry,
that must have been a heck of a party.
I know that was there's no reason not to win that, but there was there was plenty to like. But that sums up this era of Scottish rugby from 2015 World Cup to now, where there's obviously a lot of talent. But again, you're just every Six Nations, 3 wins, 2 defeats, 2 wins, 3 defeats.
Yeah.
It's this almost element where you need to go to Ireland and win. It was all a microcosm Saturday against New Zealand, where we weren't playing a vintage New Zealand side. They were also up against it with a man off, and they still couldn't get the job done with plenty of chances to do so. And it just feels that Scotland, where they are, that kind of top 8, top 10, top 6 on a good day rugby team, they can never make the leap. They can never be a Wales and have this vintage
Ireland,
Ireland, just that level up. And I think that's the frustration. They play Argentina now. They want the match up as well with Argentina over the last 20 years as anyone. A lot of wins against them. There's every chance they could win that game, but it wouldn't also shock you they were in a position to win it and come up short. And I just think for it's right now in Scottish rugby, there's just that feeling where these guys like Finn Russell, the most magic ball player you'll see in rugby, so exciting.
Yeah.
I just think there's been missed opportunities for more success than we've had, even though on paper, you know, the SRU working, it's all results and we're pretty good here. I think there's been something missing, and I think that's the kind of sad element, especially.
There has to be a wee bit of realism as well that where we are in the food chain. I think.
I think there's been a lot of money going in.
I think we had a real period when we were pretty honking, weren't we, for a good few years, and I think in the last kind of 4 or 5 years we have picked up and we have shown we can go toe to toe with big teams and either push them close or even get the odd result here and there. We don't have the kind of the manpower in terms of amount of players available that Ireland have got, or even Wales. I know they're comparable countries, but they've got much deeper wells to go to in terms of playing scope. We have to go and be a bit more creative at times with a few weird accents in that dressing room, isn't there? Which is fine. It'd be lovely just to occasionally get something and not have the kind of kick in the delicates that we seem to get far too often. But I think it will come. I think we keep banging the door. I just hope that we keep at it and we get the awards at some point. But listen, we'll go to our new kind of feature we brought into the show. The kind of having got a coupon up on the show 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
You're not giving it up.
We've not done sniff since, straight enough, but we're going to stick with it with our tips of the weekend because a broken clock can be right twice a day, and we had once. So we're due another one at some point. So we're going to go for our bets of the week. What's your bet? A banker bet for the weekend?
Well, I wanted to keep up the theme. We're in the Yankee land, so we're going American football,
right?
But it's actually taking place in the Bernabeu on Sunday.
Right.
First time there's been a game in Spain, NFL game, and it's not the game that probably people thought. It's Dolphins, Commanders, both expected to be better. Both are at 3-7, but the Dolphins are a better version of the Commanders.
Is Dan Marino still playing?
No, he's not. Retired last year.
Right. This is my knowledge of NFL.
Just last season, but it should be the Dolphins are in the doldrums as well, but they've got better players than the Commanders, whose quarterback Jaden Daniels out for the season. They've been a mess. They were expected to kind of back up a really good season last year. Give me some odds. 14 points. The Dolphins to win by 14 points, 5-1. I'll tell you why. Because international games, someone always just doesn't travel well. One of these teams always, there's something wrong with the studs, or there's an issue.
Right.
And the Dolphins battered the Bills, one of the best teams in the NFL last week. They seem like a team that might be able to back that up.
Right, 14 points, 5-1. Right, let's move on because we'll talk about some you enjoy and I enjoy. The boxing this weekend, big fight. Eubank Ben 2 or Eubank Junior and Ben Junior 2. First fight was surprisingly, I think, a really good fight. I didn't really buy into the first fight. I thought it was all hype and less substance, but I enjoyed it. And I've kind of subsequently had a change of heart because I'm now starting to see that fight changed my mind on the two of them, because there's a bit of me that admires these two for weird reasons, because these are two kids that shouldn't be boxers. I know their dads were boxers, right? But they grew up wearing the old silver slippers and all that stuff, went to nice schools, and this is not what creates a hungry, driven fighter, as we know through the years. But yet these two have turned into warriors. So they've got the warrior DNA from their dads, which I think is great. I mean, their dads spilled blood for them to pay for these upbringings to avoid this kind of thing. But they're in there. They did a great fight the first time round. Eubank Junior scraped it the first time round in points. Big favourite again this week because of his size. Obviously, he's having to bow down, but he's bigger and stronger. He's also 36. I think Ben avenges him. I think he does it on points. I think Ben was good in the first half. Missed it. So they missed good in the first half of the fight and run out of steam a wee bit. I think he was a bit ring rusty after his time out. I think he'll learn. I think he's fitter, stronger. I think Ben Eubank is older. I think that took a lot out of him that fight. I think he's in the way down. Ben's in the way up. I think Ben will do him in points. 41.
I think Ben will knock him out.
Think Ben will knock him out? I thought I was being...
No, I feel exactly. I think that's honestly some of your best work, Michael. I agree with every word you said. And what made the first fight so good? The fight was great. Storyline wise, you couldn't script it better if Hollywood writers were there with the Eubank senior and junior coming together. The entrance was magic. The fight was even better. But Ben, I just think Eubank was talking about this. He just looks like a fighter who exercised demons in that first fight. I don't think he'll be hungry. I think Ben will do it. Yeah. I think he'll be landing heavy leather and finishing the final 3 rounds.
Right, I like it.
But stick with your bet.
So I'm 41 and you're 5-1.
Yeah, let's just go with that.
So that's a nice wee double for the punters, and so lump on it and let us know. And if it's wrong, in some form. If it's wrong, we'll blame the NFL guy because I don't have a clue what that's about. Anyway, most important thing is that Scotland's still in a fighting chance on Tuesday for Denmark.
I'll be back. I'll win them over.
Aye. Well, fingers crossed. And with all this, so it's all this American chat. Maybe it's Yanks for watching. Can't resist the tabloid pun. But in the meantime, you can catch us on all the usual socials: YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, a lot for the usual nonsense. And we'll be back again same time next week. Cheers.